see that coming. I am Tom Shillue in for Greg Gutfeld. It is Friday, and you know what that means. Let's welcome tonight's guests. He's more than meets the eye because he's wearing Spanx. Comedian Joe Mackey. Go ahead. He puts Fox and Friends first, the New York Giants second, and his family third. Fox and Friends host Todd Pyro. She is sleek, bleak, but never meek. New York Times best-selling author and Fox News contributor Kat Timp. And no one will ever sneak through this wall. New York Times best-selling author, comedian, former NWA World Champion Tyra! Okay, before we get to some news stories, let's do this.
Greg's Leftovers.
Yes, it's Leftovers, where I read the jokes we didn't get to this week. And just like when Greg does it, it's my first time reading these. Earlier this week, President Biden had his annual physical. Doctors said he's in great shape for a man of his age and pronounced his death as... This is my first time reading these. And pronounced his time of death 11:45 a.m. October 14th. That's it. Numbers. A Florida woman was arrested after allegedly spiking her boyfriend's tea with bleach. He became suspicious when he noticed his teeth looked fantastic. Earlier this week, Donald Trump Jr. received an envelope containing a suspicious white powder. And this is nice. In a stunning display of bipartisanship, you'll never guess who offered to examine it. A new survey finds that 37% of people would let a bird poop on them, believing it would bring them good luck. The only question now is, where will Greg get a realistic bird costume? I don't know if I like that one.
We all do. We're all good
Okay,
with it.
all right. During a recent speech, Donald Trump did an impromptu Joe Biden impression that caused some in the audience to actually pee their pants. That, or they were also doing a Biden impression. This week in Scotland, a Willy Wonka-themed event was so disappointing, people called the cops and demanded refunds. There were no chocolate waterfalls or Oompa Loompas, but unlike the film, at least no kids were murdered. Pittsburgh police will no longer send officers to certain emergency calls like theft, harassment, or burglary. Instead, you'll do the police report by telephone, unless the thief steals your phone. Right? Okay. Kellogg's CEO is facing backlash after suggesting people should start eating cereal for dinner to save money. What do you mean start, said one man. Yeah. Right?
It's because I'm white. I'm the whitest man ever.
All right.
You hear that, Mackie? The nerve.
I'm stealing your white thing, huh?
White fight.
You don't think I'll win that one? Mitch McConnell has announced that he'll be stepping down as the Senate GOP leader in November. The reason? He wanted to spend more time with his children. Yep. It's been a tough week for Google's Gemini AI. Countless critics have slammed it for being biased, inaccurate, and racist against white people. And Joy Reid slammed them for stealing her act. According to an ex-Starbucks barista, there are 9 telltale signs that you're about to be served a bad cup of joe. Sign number 1, you're at Starbucks.
Oh, I like Starbucks.
All right. Liam Neeson is slated to star in a remake of The Naked Gun, and Hollywood is buzzing about who else will be cast. I'd kill for a part in that, said one man. Yeah, I know.
You're lucky it's March 1st, bro.
And finally, this week, a Kentucky couple got married in a gas station men's room. And if you want to get them a wedding present, you can't go wrong with a can of Lysol. Go ahead. It's the last one.
Well done.
The last
Well done,
one.
sir.
And now to the news. They say Joe's ancient, like the Acropolis, but Trump's a dangerous populist. According to a new Bloomberg poll, swing state voters find Biden too old and Trump too dangerous. Quote, overall, 8 in 10 voters in crucial states said Biden was too old, and despite finding him dangerous, voters were more likely to describe Trump as being mentally fit. By the way, as kind of a side note, they all agreed Oppenheimer is a shoo-in for Best Picture. Not only that, Trump is ahead in every swing state that really matters in November. He's up by 6 points in Pennsylvania, Nevada, Georgia, and Arizona, and leads by 9 in North Carolina and 4 in Wisconsin. But Biden still holds an edge in Mexico. So it's not looking good for the big guy. I wonder what he has to say.
No. Look. My mind is very fine. I got its mind like a steel trap. I remember everything. Seems like only yesterday I was taking down Corn Pop with a rusty chain, and riding the Amtrak with my special key. I remember everything. Back when I was before when I invented the internet. Did I ever tell you that I was named after Sir Edmund Hillary? That's right. That's before I became the first black president. But I want to tell you, I did not have sex with that woman, Ms. Lewinsky, with all my hands cramped up.
Hard. Tough. All right, Todd. I mean, does that surprise you, this poll? And what do you think is worse, voters finding you too old or too dangerous?
I love the fact that Democrats were trying to hide Biden's age from us for so long, but that pesky secret got out because he's the president. Like, it's kind of tough to hide that for so long. I think the age thing is a much bigger issue than the dangerous thing. That said, if I'm Trump, I make sure for the swing state voters that I communicate what many people are saying on the left as dangerous is a foreign policy that's going to get us out of foreign wars, that's going to be cheaper, and is actually going to be safer for Americans in the long run. It's on Trump to communicate that message within the confines of a mainstream media that's against him. And I think if he does that, he'll chip away at that dangerousness. There's nothing Joe Biden can do between now and November to chip away at the age, because things don't get better with age unless they're wine. And obviously, Joe Biden's not getting better with age. So that goes back to the overall point. Are they going to hide him more and more in an election year like they did in 2020? I don't know. I don't think they can. And that's why I think Joe Biden's in trouble.
What do you think, Tyrus? I mean, that's a good point by Todd. The idea that age, I mean, if it's changing in any direction, it's getting worse because he's getting older.
Because we all get better when we get older. That's what we all tell ourselves because we don't look in the mirror anymore. No one gets better when they get older, except maybe me. But no, actually, it's funny because literally I had the chip tooth fell out this morning. I'm walking around with a cane. Like, I turned 51 and it's over, man. Like, I'm just falling apart here. Like, but listen, let's just break it down very simple. Let's leave politics out for once. Let's try it. Let's try it first. Kat, don't spit your water out. We're not going to talk about politics right now. We're just going to take old and dangerous, those two words, okay? That's your choice.
Yeah.
You're in the pound, right? And you need a dog to protect the house. And they got this really nice, sweet old dog who will look up and watch them come in and rob your house. Now, in his mind, he's like, get up, growl, bark, maybe bite if they're close enough, and get him off the property. But he's old. So he just sits there and goes, woof. Or the dangerous dog that's barking all the damn time, and nobody will come near your yard because they can hear the barks, and just the sound of those barks are enough, for some reason, for North Korea not to worry about the nuclear program and wars not to break out. So give me the loud dog in the front yard that's dangerous, because everyone will know it's dangerous and will stay away from my house. Or have the old dog and wonder why everybody's with us. Simple.
That is something. So actually, what Tyrus is saying, Kat, is the dangerous might be to his advantage, as long as he can convince them he's dangerous in the right places, right?
First of all, I've gotten way better with age.
Yes, I agree, Kat.
Yeah, in every single way. But there will be a point where that does not apply anymore. And I think it'll be way before I'm Biden's age, because I think by then I'll be dead. So, like, no shade. It's not bad that he's old. I really don't think it's an age thing. It's the fact that regardless of age, I've said this so many times, he doesn't seem to know what's going on a significant amount of time. I mean, even the dog you're describing is aware that he knows.
Right,
I'm
yeah,
at
the
home
dog
right
was
now,
unfair. That
right?
was unfair. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that a lot of us, I think, are just feeling like, are we really going to have to do this again? You know, I don't remember the election last time around being an emotionally stable time for us as a country.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be pushed in each. It's going to be pushed away his age. You say, well, I think they're going to have to hide the guy. I don't think he's really able to be out there a lot. But they're just going to say it's not about Biden. It's about democracy. They're going to use the same talking points, and we're all going to feel like we're living in the same thing over and over again. And then it'll be over.
But can the dangerous...
That's the good news.
But that's the thing is, can you still keep saying dangerous as a warning about Trump? Because we've had
I think after he already had a presidency, I
Yeah.
think that it's a lot harder to continue to use those talking points. Absolutely. I think especially since so many of those things did turn out to be overblown, people are suspicious of any criticism of him, or some people are certainly more suspicious of it, for sure.
And that may be why they need the January 6th thing, right? They want to play it like he was some kind of insurrectionist. They got to up the stakes, because last time they said, if he takes the reins of the country, we're going downhill, and things were okay. So they need to kind of rewrite the script, right, Mackie?
Yeah, that's all I got. But one quick correction, Todd, cheese also gets better with age.
Cheese.
But yes, and wouldn't the more dangerous of the two candidates be the one that's senile? Because, like, one day Joe Biden wakes up, he's raised by Puerto Ricans, he was a truck driver and has oil cancer.
Yeah.
And then what if the next day he wakes up and mistakes Xi Jinping for Emperor Hirohito and then tries to attack him with the Intrepid Museum?
Is that his name? Do you call him Xi Jinping?
I do.
President Xi.
Yeah, all the cool guys do.
Gigi.
Yeah, Gigi. Yeah.
Gigi.
When we were working out with him last year at the summit, remember, we were like, hey, Gigi, get your PRs up.
Xi Jinping.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. Pyro,
Yes.
These do you believe these swing state polls? Because you know what's going to happen. I mean, what can I say about the voting? That the Democrats, they know how to get those votes, like the mail-in situation. I mean, how much of this can I say? They're going to find a lot of votes in those areas, aren't they?
I think the way you can couch it, Tom, is to basically say Democrats are better at elections than Republicans in every single state, even if it's a Republican state. Democrats know how to run elections. They know how to maximize votes. And Republicans, for whatever reason, are not good at that. That said, Republicans need to wake up, because obviously this is an important election. And when it comes to the polls, I think it's important to discuss the polls. I think it's important to look for trends. But if Republicans start getting cocky with these polls that show, oh, Trump's winning in all the swing states, you don't win in March. You win in November. And so they need to keep the foot on the gas, and they need to make sure that they're mobilizing those swing state, independent, non-committed voters. There aren't a lot of them. I mean, let's face it. Everybody you know probably has decided who they're going to vote for in November.
Yes.
But for those people who haven't yet decided, Trump needs to be laser focused in communicating to them that I'm not going to be dangerous. I'm going to defend America's interests. I'm not going to be the end of democracy. The other guy is. And when it comes to treating humans and Americans equally, I'm the guy to do that. He needs to be laser focused on that. And I think he's getting there. Republicans need to follow suit with him, the entire party.
And no more of this waiting till Election Day. We got to get in there and vote early.
I know Republicans don't want to do. I don't like to pay taxes, but I do it because I have to.
But it's a difference in
Republicans need to get in
philosophy,
there
though.
now.
We think of voting as a privilege and something you earn the right to do. We don't. I'm speaking in generalities, but like that's how we generally think about it. And the other side tends to think about it as just get all the numbers you can. That's why you see the mass text is like, we'll sign you up, come vote. Where most of us like it's a right. It's a rite of passage. You talk about it. You take off work. You plan around it. It's one of the when I do it, I think about my grandmother when she had earned the right to vote. Like it seems to be more of a personal thing to Republicans. But that's why mail-in voting and stuff like that. Oh no, you got to do your part.
Yeah, Election Day is
romanticized. Someone doesn't want to do their part.
But that's not going to work this year.
Democrats-
They got to get out there and vote early. Am I right?
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.